Howard Cox, the Reform UK candidate for Mayor of London, is still with us. Interesting, Howard, I think one of the big issues that comes through is the one you've already touched on about the two-party system. I mean, let's just look at Sadiq Khan for a second. I found it fascinating, and maybe the same thing is going to happen in a national election, not necessarily because people are so wedded with the ideological brilliance of Keir Starmer, because, number one, I don't think there is any, so there's that, and number two, I just don't think he's made that kind of impression yet. His greatest asset is that he's not Rishi Sunak, so he's doing all right. Was Sadiq Khan's greatest asset that he wasn't Susan Hall?
I think so. I'm not going to sort of denigrate Susan Hall, but to some extent she was the fourth choice out of four choices the Tories to be candidate for the Tory party. And we heard what Paul Scully said about her and people like that. She's got a good heart, but let's face it, she was in 8 years in opposition to Sadiq Khan. Yeah. And Sadiq Khan has basically plundered our capital city's soul, the economy, and made our capital alien to most of us and unsafe. And the transport on the roads is grounded to a halt. I just don't understand how over 1 million people are happy with the fact that knife crime's up 20% in the last year.
I mean, that in itself, but they seem happy that a tiny, tiny blip on a spreadsheet has reduced, the capacity for certain cars to drive in the, nothing that's going to make any massive difference to anyone's health. But that seems to have been a huge player for Khan among some people, particularly Green voters and the like, who might have switched over to him, because they really do buy into this frenzy. And they're happy to have a wall of cameras around the entire M25, which should disturb anybody, regardless of what it was for. And yet they're all right with that.
And those cameras are staying. So it looks as though we're going to be getting pay per mile. Those are the sorts of things that we're going to get now. He denies it, but he's got a department that I think he's been funded to the tune of 30 or 40 million pounds called Operation Detroit. Something like that is happening. It's definitely coming to us, and there's going to be more road user taxes. It's going to get stronger. And, London itself, the economy, because of ULEZ introduction in the last year, has contracted by £1 billion.
Sure.
But that doesn't seem to be a problem to Sadiq Khan. I don't understand it. And there's also a little matter of how he got elected. There's the postal vote.
Well, we had a question from George in Croydon who says, can you ask Howard if there is any breakdown of the postal vote for the mayor?
Well, it's a good question, because I've immediately asked that of the Electoral Assembly administration. I've asked them to give me that information. I want to break them down by borough. Because I think inner London is definitely Sadiq Khan. Outer London is Conservative, as we know, in that sort of thing. And we did well also in the outer boroughs, etc. But the thing is, that postal vote, I mean, a good colleague friend of mine, I won't say who it is, but he simply said to me, most of the people postal vote, bear in mind they didn't need a photo ID for a postal ID, but you did in the ballot box. Yep. But the people who send their vote by postal, probably most of them don't drive, and most of them don't speak English. And that's very controversial, I know, but that's the sort of messages I'm getting, factually, the information I'm getting from people, they're getting that. And I don't know if it's corrupt whatsoever, but I will be investigating this to make sure it's fair. It won't make me mayor. I haven't got sour grapes.
It's not a Trump mo. You're not trying to overturn it, Howard, are you?
No, well, I might need the Chinese to help with that.
They could probably make it happen, believe me. There is a word from the Green Party, by the way, today. Former co-leader Sian Berry, of course, who was on the London Assembly, has just been announced as resigned from her role. She's stepping down and allowing the party's mayoral candidate, Zoe Garbett, to take her place. I don't know whether that's the Greens doing their spread the love thing among their candidates or something else.
Well, I think Sian is actually going to be standing in Caroline Lucas's seat in Brighton. So she's moving there. I think it is there's nothing sinister about it. And I rate Zoe Garbett. She's very, very bright, very intelligent. Obviously, it's not my sort of politics, into net zero and all those sorts of things. Yep. But fundamentally, I don't see a surprise there at all.
And where does it go next? Because Sadiq Khan's got, 4 or 5 years?
He's got 4 more years. I mean,
4 more years.
He can go on for another 4 years after that and go on forever. It's it's the most amazing system. I think it's completely wrong that you're allowed to stand for a third thing. I think two terms is ample for anyone.
I would have thought. What do you earn as the Mayor of London? Do you know offhand?
About £158,000. Okay. Plus expenses and 2 bulletproof Range Rovers as well, and about 8 security staff.
Yeah, you don't. And I would imagine you don't pay for very much as well when you're on the mooch. So it's not in the grander scale of high-profile jobs. I think the mayor of New York, you could probably put $1 million in front of that figure.
Yeah.
And it always surprises people that we don't pay politicians in the same way as we might pay a solicitor or an accountant. But nonetheless, it's a very influential job, and it's one that you're never going to struggle to be looking for work when you come out of it, I would imagine.
Well, absolutely. His mate, he's probably going to be a lord, and I think he's looking to become the head of the Labour Party. He's still young enough to go that far.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wish him well, but I hope he listens this time and not, manipulates public consultations agreements or is dishonest about information about like ULEZ and knife crime, etc. All those sorts of things. He's got to listen to the people. There's 18% got him in, but please listen to the 82%.
It's a great point to finish on. Howard, listen, we're going to be speaking a lot more about many campaigns. We'll continue to talk about fuel throughout the year. It's a big area that Howard has had a massive impact on. What is happening on the forecourts? And it's going up, by the way, at the moment. Howard Cox with us. He was the former London mayoral candidate for Reform UK.